Like, chaos and chaos just makes more chaos. Temper tantrums are going to happen. In my experience, a lot of times, just taking that few minutes, hey, what's going on? Let's have a big hug. Let's talk about it. A lot of kids really do kind of calm down and are just like, oh, okay.
Hey everybody, I'm David.
I'm Alicia, and today we're talking about handling temper tantrums in public.
Yes, temper tantrums in public. So this is something that even before we got married, like not my whole life, but like I've always known that my biggest challenge in life, and that's dramatic to say, but like as a slightly socially anxious person.
Is that what we're calling it?
Dealing with a kid in public who's having a temper tantrum, or even just a kid in public in general, has always struck me as something that would really give me a hard time. Like, I knew that someday I'll have a kid, and I'll be in public with that kid, and me parenting that kid in public would be one of the greatest signs of my maturity in life. Like, I knew this when I was 18. I don't know, like, and so then got married quickly. I thought I'd get married a lot later in life. I didn't realize I'd meet
this.
I didn't think I'd meet her so fast. But so then I found myself, and then we got our lovely cherub Sophie. But so then I found myself in this situation, and it has been pretty challenging for me. So I feel like we've definitely had some experience with this, and have figured out a way to, I don't know, that we approach it.
You know, and I think, though, like, something to just bear in mind in this, because, like, I think that, like, the fear of the temper tantrum, like, we all have that moment where, like, our toddler is, like, screaming, or maybe not even screaming, but, like, you know it's coming. It's, like, I think we can all kind of relate to that, like, oh no, what do we do?
Right, thing. Your cart's full of stuff.
Right, your cart's full of stuff. You don't want to just, like, you can't just leave the store.
You're trying to find an aisle with no one in it.
Right. And
for a second.
For just a second. And, like, I think it's important to just, like, bear in mind, like, the reality is people are not paying as much attention to you as you think they are. Okay, like...
Well, I certainly have to remind myself of that, because I think everyone is staring at me all the time. I feel like...
But, like, I mean, think about when you hear another child having a temper tantrum, or you see another mom. Like, you know, our first instinct is not necessarily to be like, oh, good, let me have my Target popcorn and watch the show. Like, it's typically like, oh, honey, I'm sorry. Or you, like, walk away.
I just feel uncomfortable because, like, I know the person, the parent is probably uncomfortable that I'm around, and they think I'm judging them. So I'm like, I'm walking away.
I'm not judging you.
It's okay.
I'm not judging you.
Like, I'm glad I'm not in your position right now.
But, like, you're not paying attention. You're not, like, staring and watching and, like, trying to, like,
You've been stared at, though. Like, you've been in the store, you tell me stories about, like, how this person like, stared at you, but then they come up to you and ask you questions
But,
after.
like, they're like, oh my gosh, I saw the way you handled that. Can you give me some tips about whatever? And I'm like...
These are true stories. This is not...
Okay. But, like, the thing is, like, people really are not paying that much attention to you. And so even though, like, the toddler temper tantrum is stressful, it's not like all of a sudden everybody stops what they're doing to pay attention to what you're doing or not doing, or what your toddler's doing or not doing. Is like the general consensus is like they don't really want to pay attention. They're like, oh, that's just a temper tantrum, I know. And the handful of people that are going to stare at you and judge you and whatever, chances of you dealing with them again, like if you're at Walmart and somebody like gives you a hard time about your kid screaming and is giving you a dirty look, what's the likelihood of you seeing that same person again in Walmart?
As a socially anxious person who is working on it, that doesn't work for me. Like, the fact that I'm never going to see these people again, I still care more about what they think than I should.
Like, that might be true, but I think it's a thing to, like, bear in mind. Like, remember that. Like, you know, just bearing,
like... Oh, it's key.
You know, like... You can still be anxious, and even people might not be. Like, I have to remind myself of that sometimes. Like, Sophie lost it at Target one day a couple weeks ago, and I had to, like, really be mindful of myself. Like, okay, that woman who just gave me a dirty look, I am never going to see her again. I don't know who she is. I don't know anything about her life. Let it go. And I did.
Should have asked her what's up.
I mean, I've done that before, but...
No, it's okay.
Anyway.
This reminds me of, actually, I just remembered there was a playground situation. Like, I don't get a lot of playground opportunity with Sophie, but, like, and it wasn't a temper tantrum. It was just, I needed to be a parent. And I didn't handle it as well as I could have because I was so aware of, like, other people. And it like, bothers me. It bothered me, and it made me think a lot about it. Because what happened was Sophie was playing on the structure, and there were wood chips underneath it, your standard wood chip. And she thought that these wood chips were, like, she was pretending they were something. And it was later in the day, so she was kind of tired, but not quite tired, but getting tired. So it's like her, she's getting to that point. And I didn't want, because there was another kid really close with her that she was kind of playing with. And so she picks up these wood chips, and I'd in the past seen her, like, throw them. Wow. Like, yeah, like, oh, this is awesome.
This is great.
And so I was like, Sophie, and even when that happened before, we said to her, Sophie, it's not safe to throw wood chips. That's not a safe choice.
Not a good idea.
Yeah, like, so I knew this was coming, so I tried to say, like, and the other mom is, like, really nearby, and you were off talking with someone, so, like, I was on duty. and so I'm like, hey, Sophie, don't throw the wood chips. Please put the wood chips down. That's not safe. You could hurt your hands, get a splinter or something, and you could hurt other people. We don't want to hurt our friends. Something like that. But then, she just looks at me, and she gives me, like, a smile, and just throws them. And so at this point, I'm, like, sweating, because I'm like, oh no, I have to, like, this is my lifetime fear. This is what I feared my entire life, is this moment
of truth.
And I wasn't ready, because I went up to her, and I was like, Sophie, and I think I, like, grabbed her hands to try to hold her hands so that she couldn't pick up more, but it just wasn't, like, she was trying to pull and, like, move away and just being, like, silly, and not getting my tone, like, hey, this is not a game, we don't want to throw wood chips. And I just felt like I couldn't get her to react to me, and it felt I was just, and this other mom was, like, I felt like she was staring right at me. She probably wasn't, but anyway, after the fact, I was like, that didn't go very well. And but looking back, I didn't get down on her level. I didn't approach it.
We knew, like, she was tired.
Yeah.
And that's a thing to pay attention to, like, before you go out and do whatever it is you're going to do. Like, be mindful of the fact that you could be hitting nap time or lunchtime, or, will your child need a drink? Will your child need a snack? Will, what can, if you're going to anticipate your child to sit in a store, in a cart, doctor's office, waiting room for long periods of time, be proactive in that. What activities can I provide for my child? What snacks can I provide for my child? What drinks? What, like, be able to have something in your back pocket before that even becomes a thing that you're handling, I think is...
And what was it that, because, like, that's preventative, and I think absolutely... Yeah. But with Sophie, when she was showing the wood chips, I remember I had this conversation with you, like, that, like, when we got in the car, like, hey, what could I have done? Because, like, I legitimately don't want that to happen again. So it's like, and I knew that I cared about this other mom, and I should have, like, the first thing I realized was I need to be in this moment with myself and my child. Nothing else matters. Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, life's too short. Like, all of that needs to be, my perspective needs to be there. But then, that being said, what were the actions that I should have taken? And I know one of them was that I didn't actually kneel down and get on her level and like try to talk to her. But there were other things too that you were saying, like, what should I have done? Like, she's throwing the wood chips. She didn't listen to me.
You know, okay, so, and I use the example of like being in a grocery store a lot because I feel like that's a very common thing.
Yeah, it is.
But, you know, leaving the grocery store per se, leaving your cart full of groceries might not be, I don't think that's a feasible option. I don't think that that's worth doing because now you've created a situation where you have this cart full of groceries, you're going home, you don't have your groceries, you have to go out again, buy all your groceries. I just think it's a waste of time. I do think you need to walk away from your moment, from your environment. And maybe that means you whip that cart down another aisle, or you just try to escape the actual moment that it's starting because you're just getting so overwhelmed and your toddler's getting overwhelmed, and really just be like, hey, let's talk for a second. Sounds like you're really frustrated. Sounds like, you know, you're really mad. You want something. Can I help you? You know, and just like remaining calm. Like if your child is having a fit, having their chaos, having their, you know, thing, like chaos just makes more chaos. So like you really need to be the calm person in this, and you really need to just, you know, temper tantrums are going to happen. They're expressions of an emotion your child is just too small to handle. Like it's too big for them, so they just outburst. And so that's what's happening. You know, it's a very real and authentic thing for them. And to just understand that, like, they're not trying to be this evil demon seed at Target. They're just trying to, they have a very strong feeling and opinion. And in my experience, a lot of times, just taking that few minutes, hey, what's going on? Let's have a big hug. Let's talk about it. A lot of kids really do kind of calm down and are just like, oh, okay. You know, and some kids don't want the hug, and some kids don't want the, you know, they get too mad to be touched, and that's fine. But just be like, all right, you don't want to be touched. I respect that. I'm just gonna, you know, we gotta walk down this aisle. Let's walk down this aisle for a minute, and then we'll try to go back. And just being calm with them and don't turn it into you versus me, because you are your kid's person. And when they know that they have you, they can calm down a lot easier.
Yeah. That makes complete sense. And I feel like when I hear you saying that, I feel the resistance of certain people who are hearing this, like, oh, that's too soft. The kid, you know, like when you talk about listening to their feelings and they're dealing with something and you should help them. Like I can like feel people like, oh, that's not what you should do. But it's like, that makes complete sense. They're a young person, far younger than their emotions. Like they are having emotion that they're not able to handle. Yeah. So like, just like when an adult freaks out because their emotion went over their limit of what they can handle, it's like that's happening to a person who's a child. And it's like, so like for you to say, let's talk about it, let's focus on you for a moment, that allows them to actually calm down. Like that works.
And the other thing to that too is like, don't just listen to, you know, we get, and I'm speaking more to moms, I guess, but I guess like parents in general, like when we know we're going to be out for a whole day, we will make sure that Sophie's got her bag and her drink and her snacks and her, you know, whatever else she might need. But then I'll walk out the door and be like, I didn't eat anything today. So naturally, when it gets to the point that my child, like, you know, Sophie has a fit, well, I haven't had anything to eat all day and I'm thirsty, so I'm not even equipped to handle her storm. So I need to be able to make sure I have something. Like, I need to take care of myself and my needs too, because, you know, if I'm going to be the one that's being the adult, being the parent, I need to make sure that I'm able to help her through her storm and help her through her tantrum. And I feel like that means that I need to be mindful of, am I drinking water? Am I having a snack? Have I had my lunch? And what do I need to be doing?
Yeah. so that you're not short fused.
Right. You know, like knowing my limits and knowing my expectations. Like if I know, 5:00 on a Friday night at Walmart is going to upset me, I'm probably not going to do grocery shopping at 5:00 at Walmart. Ever.
Yeah. Well, all my images of this are happening in Target. Walmart, it's in and out. I don't want to be there.
It's true. I don't think anybody...
No offense, Walmart.
No offense, no.
I do want to talk about what the other person can do. Because, we've done a video on being on the same page or being a team. And it's like, if we're both in the store, it's like one of us is kind of leading with Sophie.
Yeah.
And so, usually it's you. And I'm in like a backup secondary role. And I feel like there are certain things that I've found help.
Yeah.
That I can do to be helpful. And so I guess this is kind of for dads, but not necessarily. Because maybe the dad is the one primarily with the kid in the store and the mom is like in the sidekick role, I guess. If you want to put it that way. But one thing in general too is to try and see it coming. Like, it's not out of the blue when the kid starts freaking out. Generally, they're getting short, they're getting fussy, they're listening less. Like, I think those signs are especially obvious for the parent. And so if you know that's happening, I usually see that myself. And so one of the things I can do is be on distraction duty, where I can easily say to Sophie, like, hey, Sophie, look at this cool thing, or look over here, or tell me what you're thinking about this, or, like, she can engage and look at things and, like, experience things, and that takes her mind away from whatever she might be getting bothered by. And so, like, if you're dealing with her and she's starting to get fussy and you're starting to get frustrated, I can swoop in and, like, start engaging with Sophie. And that's, like, a small thing. But, like, also, sometimes you're getting irritated and Sophie's fine. And, like, that's another role for me, is to, like, hey, I'll push the cart right now. I'll take Sophie over in another aisle. Let me hang out with Sophie for a while so that you can have more.
A minute.
Yeah, like, and plus you're the one who's aware of what we need.
Right.
At least in our situation, you're the one who's made the list. You know where these things are in the store.
I know what kind of whatever brand I'm looking for.
The brands, the deals, you're aware of all of that. And so, like, if you're trying to do focus, I honestly should be the one in charge of Sophie. And sometimes we default into you're in charge of everything and I'm just there. But that's why I have to, like, step into the situation. And that's been a big area for me, because, like, up until very recently, I didn't even go in with you. And that wasn't okay. Like, in my opinion, it started out, I'm annoying in the store because I am not comfortable in stores as much as I should be. So, like, it was just easier for you that I wasn't there with you because I created more problem. So, like, that wasn't okay. So I've made an effort to now be in the store, and put myself aside. Yeah, actually, the other day I offered it, and you were like, well, how about you just drop me off, and I can hang out, and then I could hang out with Sophie. And that was actually an even better option, because then you got to be alone and have some time. But, so, like, I need to set myself aside and be supportive, and that means going into the store and being with Sophie as much as possible, and being on distraction duty, taking her away from you while we're in the store, and her and I go off on a mission or something. And then if you're getting frustrated, seeing that, asking how I could be helpful. Like, if you're the dude in the situation, don't be dumb. Don't
Please don't be dumb.
Participate. And be there. And, like, how do I know that's a temptation? Because I have been terrible at it in the past, and so it's one of the big things I'm trying to do is be more helpful.
Be the solution
out there in the world, especially in a store with a toddler who at any moment could suffer an emotional breakdown. And so, like, for me, being able to see it coming and keep her entertained, because she loves having both of us in the store. And if you're having to say no to her about something and she's starting to get frustrated, then I can come in and take her and say, hey, Sophie, what about, I was just looking at cereal over here. You want to go look at cereal? And she's like, yeah, let's go look at Cheerios. And we went and look at Cheerios for like 10 minutes. So I feel like being helpful as the second person is huge. Mm-hmm. Now that's if you have two people, but at least if you're there as the supporting husband in the store, don't go to the video game section and be there for 30 minutes. Don't go look at the sporting goods. Don't or whatever your thing is, whatever section of the store you want to go look at. Plan it out. I'm going to want to go look at that section. Mm-hmm. When is the best time to do that or something?
And if your spouse is going to be, in the store or the mall or the, wherever, mall this applies really well. It's make sure you kind of know each other's intentions. When we go to the mall and I know you want to hit up these 3 stores. Yeah. Okay, cool, and I want to hit up these 3 stores, so we're able to work together, okay, you're going to hit up this store and then watch Sophie while I check out this one, and then I'll take Sophie back and you go.
Yeah, we usually know, and now it's we know which stores we want to be in alone and which ones we can be in together, mm-hmm. and then how that's going to roll, mm-hmm. But...
and that kind of goes back to, also, just being... mindful, I guess, with your time, being intentional with what you're doing and planning, if you're trying to go put a swimsuit, you want to go try swimsuits on, you might not want to take in your 3-year-old who likes to ask you tons of questions about your body. You might not, plan your time. Get somebody to watch your kid so you can try on your swimsuits in peace.
When you're trying stuff on.
And trying to try stuff on.
And that's where I come in. Mm-hmm. Because we can look at Cheerios while you're trying something. Mm-hmm. Not that would be in the same store, but...
It might be.
It might be.
Target's got everything.
Could be Target. Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah. But, I've learned a lot with you in stores, because the whole, talking to them and asking them, about what's...
Just bring them into your trip.
You can't tell them to stop feeling their feelings.
You can't make them stop. But, bring them into your trip. Have them help out.
Oh, yeah.
Mommy's looking for, spaghetti. Can you help me find the spaghetti? Wow, here's all the spaghetti. What kind of spaghetti should we get? And, oh, they've got this box and they've got this box. Bring in your kid. When your kid...
And what a concept.
Bring in your kid. There is nothing... and when it's not a big deal, have your kid be okay, we're going to have, do you want to have broccoli or peas and carrots with dinner? Which one should you pick? Bringing in your child in your grocery shopping, or even just in general, in your life in general, they get so excited to be a part of it and be, oh, I'm big, I'm so, strong, and I'm a big kid now, and do, and
it's not we're going to be excited about picking out vegetables. So right. if she is going to be excited to be given that control in that moment, mm-hmm. it's of no consequence to us, other than the fact that we get to enjoy it more because our kid is engaging and happy and mm-hmm. feels like they're making a decision. They're part of the family unit. They're mm-hmm. not a second-class member of the family. Mm-hmm. We're a unit in the store with mm-hmm. an objective. Yeah. And we have a mission, and mm-hmm. they're part of that mission, and so we support them, and we can give them moments to support us, or let them feel like they are choosing broccoli or Sophie loves that.
Yeah, I can get through. I can do most of the time. Our grocery shopping is absolutely fine. I can go in there by mm-hmm. myself, with her, whatever. If I want to go by myself, it's I just want some time by myself. But going in the grocery store with her typically isn't a problem, because she's in the environment. She's mm-hmm. with it. She's not just on the outskirts of it, and we're able to really talk through and work through, and she's in the moment with me, and I'm paying attention to her, she's paying attention to me, and so we're both on the same level.
Yeah. So like so this video being about temper tantrums in public, you know, what are your final like summarized thoughts on for a person dealing with
to be mindful ahead of time, you know, be proactive. If you're going to, you know, make sure you have your snacks, make sure it doesn't interfere with a meal time or a nap time or whatever else. You know, if you know you're probably going to hit rush hour traffic, maybe try to go earlier or later. You know, things like that. When the temper tantrum itself is actually happening in that moment, first of all, people are not paying as much attention to you as you think that they are. And your job is not what other people think, but rather your child. You know, and to just communicate with them, let them know that you're here, they're, you know, you're together in this. You know, don't necessarily leave the store, but maybe go to another section or a quieter section, a different part, something new to look at. Use distraction to your benefit. Like, yeah.
And communicate. Help them communicate their own thoughts and feelings for them, since they're overwhelmed by them in that moment. And usually that's what it is. They feel like they can't communicate their feeling. Like, that's why I get upset. Is I'm, you know, I can relate to that. Yeah. If I were, you know, sometimes grown-ups act like toddlers. Very true. You know, you can only imagine as an actual toddler how overwhelming it can be when you're so frustrated about this thing and it's like you can't even get it out. But then when your parent actually helps you word that, it's like, oh, thank you, you do understand what I'm feeling, you know what I'm going through, I am frustrated about this. And maybe like, that's what they need to be. It's just frustrated for a minute.
If you were in an airport to, you know, some other country and everybody's speaking this other language and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know what I need. And then suddenly there's this person who's like, oh, hey, you're speaking this language. I understand what you need. Let me come and help you. You're trying to find this. You would instantly be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. This makes so much sense. Be that voice for your toddler. You know, like. Yeah.
And then next time the chances of them being able to articulate that better next time just increase every single time, because you've literally helped them from point A to point B instead of just stuffing point A away. You know, them feeling the emotion, you actually help them go through the emotion and build independence through it. So yeah, we'll probably talk a lot more about temper tantrums though in future videos, but yeah, I think we hit. And as a supporter, just participate. Be present with try to be
present with
your group. Helpful, participate, be observant, and know how you can be helpful. So yeah, if you have any thoughts on temper tantrums in public, any questions, any experiences you want to share, any comments at all about this video, if you found it helpful, leave a comment in the comments section, or send us a message. Subscribe.
We love
Definitely subscribe. That helps us a lot, and that way you can see us in our next video. All right. So we'll see you then.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.